Hello and welcome to episode 267 of the Skips View podcast. My name is Dean.
My name is Brett.
My name is Hagen.
So we are celebrating. Hagen just returned from the motherland, Scotland, even though he's not Scottish, but he was away for a little while. Brett was also. Where were you, Brett?
Dude, in the last 14 days, I was in Chicago.
I don't need your life story. Just where
saying,
were
I've
you?
been in Chicago, Boston, and going back to Chicago tomorrow with you. So it's been a whirlwind the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. So me and Brett and I will be going to the White Sox Stadium, Comiskey Park. I don't know. I'm assuming it's not called Comiskey Park anymore, but I'll call it Comiskey Park. We'll be going there tomorrow for the Mets White Sox 6:50 game. Very excited for it. I fly out very early, so that's not going to be fun. But we are at the 5-year anniversary of the Skipper's View today. Today's the first blog. Today was the first blog that was put out by the Skipper's View. The first tweet was put out a few days prior, and the website itself, the name, we came up with August 8th. So it's a few days past. We just got out of the hospital. August 20th. So I wrote a blog, if you didn't see it, kind of going through 5 years of the Skipper's View history. It was really, it was not meant to be a history of the Skipper's View, and it just kind of steamrolled into that. And then, next thing I'm writing sub chapters of kind of the different eras of the Skipper's View, jabbing Brett wherever I could. I knew that was going to upset him. So that felt
Did not upset
that felt
me.
good. You brought it up almost immediately as you jumped on the call. You're like, yeah, I read your blog.
I just said I loved
every 5 seconds. You didn't say loved, but I actually, Will was the one who motivated me to put some more, because he brought up Brett's crippling card addiction, which predated Hagen, where Brett would open up a pack every episode. It's very funny. Not great for his wallet. But yeah, so we're at 5 years. I'm not going to go through the entire history of the Skipper's View here in this episode, because we'll be here forever. I encourage you to go read that blog if you haven't already. I personally think it's a very good description of our history. Brett, I think you would agree.
Well, absolutely. I'm besides going back and finding timestamps on things, I'm impressed how much you actually found to the date, which was pretty accurate, of and going through the timeline. It's yeah, that did happen in that order. Oh my goodness. And you think 5 years back, in your parents' basement to now, what we've grown into and what we've been able to replicate and do north of 250 episodes of a podcast. I think you alone have north of 400 blogs on the website. I've probably written a fourth of that. Hagen's done 100 plus episodes on this podcast. This is incredible. It's awesome stuff. It puts a smile on my face.
Yeah. Don't forget, I got about 3 blogs out there too.
He's got some blogs out there. The way I couldn't weave Hagen's blog writing into because I kind of skipped. I didn't skip over. Well, I kind of did skip over. I was trying to I was introducing the blog. So introducing the blog, I was okay, who were the first writers? And I'm let me talk about the 3 kind of main ones that came about. There was 2 writers who wrote with us. Brett probably doesn't even remember who they are. I'm not going to say them on air. This was way back. This was when the website was Wix, a Wix website, not even a Substack. But after that, Sam was the first person. And then we brought Mike EOC and Will. It was those 3, and then Greg Monroe. So I was let me do the introduction to the blog, and then just the way it worked, I was I can't name every single person who's written for us. When I got to the podcast, it was kind of the perfect segue to bring up our boy Hagen. And also, Hagen, you didn't know that we used to do interviews on this podcast.
I actually only knew that because when I first reached out, I reached out to you because I wanted to write, and that lasted a little bit, but only a couple blogs, and then it went downhill. My dad would still get on my ass at times. I'm hey, you should write something, dude, write something. But I was looking back and looking at the podcast too, and I remember looking back, and I remember seeing Scott Bush, I believe his name, the CEO of Sabre. I remember looking back and seeing the interviews then. I know he has had Hayden something, a pitcher for the Giants.
That was Brett Hayden Windinja, right?
Yeah.
Hayden Winya.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember I only knew about it just because I remember looking into your guys' company a little bit, and then just kind of looking at the podcast, looking at past episodes.
Yeah, we had Joe Poznansky, who's one of the biggest baseball writers ever, on this podcast, and Brett was texting my dad during it, to try to like make a fantasy baseball trade. So that's what we're dealing with. But all right, enough about us. Let's talk about baseball. We're gonna go through just some hot topics from the past like week and a half, and we'll kind of like jump around. I don't know where to start. I kind of want to start with Ketel Marte, but should we start from the top?
I was going to say either start with Marte or Baez.
Oh, Marte or Baez.
Well, maybe we could do the Padres as well.
Let's start with the Padres. Milwaukee, one of the topics we were going to talk about was Milwaukee winning 22-0 against Seattle. They also beat Seattle today. They knocked up George Kirby pretty good. That sounds weird. Knocked around George Kirby pretty good. But they scored 22 runs. It was the largest shutout in the modern era. That was 2 nights ago. That was fun to watch. It's just fun to watch Julio, like Brett's boy Julio Rodriguez, kind of just roll into a hole like a little boy. But Padres sale was approved. It's an MLB record, $3.9 billion. So MLB owners unanimously approved the Padres new ownership group led by Jose Feliciano and Kwanzaa Jones. The transaction involved a record $3.9 billion and is expected to close in the coming weeks. The price shattered the previous MLB record and showed that's a bunch of fluff. Yeah, $3.9 billion. Do we think this is going to change anything?
So I think that like the owners, when they're buying teams for this much, then like trying to get a pay, if they end up going to a payroll, the players are going to demand it to be a way higher salary cap or salary floor, I should say. Like these team valuations are skyrocketing.
And even too, like let's say they do add like Padres worth $3.9 billion right now. If you add a salary cap on that, that could go up $500 million just in a season, because if you look at like NFL franchise values, like it's tied to when there's caps because there's just so many costs that, like, think about how much money the Dodgers would save, and like on their books of like all their financials, how much money they'd be saving, which would make them more franchise value too. Yeah,
it'd be wild. I was gonna say, random thought. It'd be wild to see if they ever tied salary cap directly to teams' valuations. It'd be too hard to pull off. I don't even know how they do that.
That's totally unfair. That's like that's all the small market teams would get screwed.
I'm saying it would be some sort of like ratio where like the Dodgers are worth this much. Like you can't go over, or you have. Actually, I have no idea how it works. Never mind. Forget what I said.
Yeah, stop talking. Stop talking because you don't make any sense. I was more saying, like, do we think this changes the Padres being... I mean, the Padres are big spenders.
Yeah, I mean, that one, it's hard to say because we see so many times. I feel like every owner kind of says, hey, I bought the team. I want to put money into this team. I want to bring a championship to this team. I know, like, I was like Steve Cohen's the one who obviously did that example, but promised way too much. That's just thought he could just buy wins. But it's like the Orioles. I know their payroll's gone up recently. Since a few years ago, they got their new owner. It's gone up a little bit, but he was saying, I'm all in on this team. I want to go up this, but like they're not a top 5 payroll team like it almost seemed like he was saying they were going to be. And I know the Padres play in the waters of, they get close to luxury tax, don't really go over it. And obviously when Peter Seidler passed away, that made it a little different because then it was a billionaire who knew he was going to die very soon and just said, I want to see this team win a World Series. And it's probably why they have Xander Bogaerts signing the contract that's one of the worst in baseball, probably bottom 10. And so it's kind of hard to say because I feel like every owner is just going to say that you want to win the fans over. They're going to probably look to make a big splash, whether that's like the owners want to make that first big move to like excite the fans, probably this offseason, the deadline next year, whatever it's going to be. But I'd have to look into more like the owners and like what they do and everything like this because, yeah, like owners, yeah, you kind of want guys to like be invested in the team and want this team to win and really do all this. But at the end of the day, it's billionaires who got their money for a reason or inherited the money from their parents. And this is a business for them. This isn't about, I want this team to be very good, like unless like a Steve Cohen. But most of the time, this is just a business thing where they're trying to make money out of it.
We just had a comment on the live stream saying, Hagen is so smart at baseball. I said, yes, he is. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, no, what's interesting too, we haven't recorded in about a week and a half. The Padres are now smack in the middle of the playoff race with a terrible rotation, or like the first half of the season they had a terrible rotation. Machado is playing much better. Tatis is playing much better. You kind of forget that he went on that 50 game streak of no home runs at the beginning of the season, something crazy. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. And even Jackson Merrill playing a lot better. I feel like people were just, me included, I kind of just labeled the Padres from like the first 2 months of the season and kind of wrote them off. I wasn't worried about them. But then AJ Preller, deadline comes, and there were people who thought they were going to sell, and they did the opposite. And now they're sitting in a pretty comfortable spot, I would say.
Yeah, and like you're saying too, like Tatis, like it's kind of crazy. I saw the other day, obviously, a game against the Mets where he hit 2 home runs and robbed a grand slam. The Tatis game. You kind of look at it. They were showing, I think that was his 16th home run of the year, and it's like this guy didn't have a home run for a month and a half, over that, whatever it was, and now he's at like 16 home runs. Like he's been great since then. Like, and I feel like you can just kind of feel like when you watch him, from what I've seen so far this year, just in the box, he looks more comfortable, and he looks like almost like the 2021 Tatis of like, I feel like I'm one of the best players in all Major League Baseball. Where like earlier this year, it almost felt like he kind of knew that he was struggling. I couldn't hit any home runs. I can't pull the ball in the air, whatever it is.
Yeah, he had that game like 3 days ago. It was like 2 home runs and threw out. It was like Francisco Alvarez. Oh, you probably saw that. No, maybe not. You were in Scotland. He threw out Francisco Alvarez, and I was like, does that really count? It's Francisco Alvarez who's moving at like a snail's pace. But yeah, Padres very interesting. They're in a playoff spot right now. They got a lead game on the Diamondbacks, 2.5 leads on the Cardinals. I don't know how the Cardinals are still in a playoff spot. I find that funny. Jordan Walker heating up again. I'm gonna have to figure out if I want to keep him in fantasy baseball. We get 5 keepers. I have to go over my team when we get closer to that. Okay, Ketel Marte. I don't even know how we approach this. So Ketel Marte is placed on the restricted list after missing a game the other night. I believe it was Tuesday night at Fenway. He traveled with the team, but did not report to Fenway Park from a Monday's game. Sorry. Diamondbacks placed him on the restricted list. He returned to Phoenix for an MRI on the left knee that has bothered him since the All-Star break. But I think the general manager, Mike Hayes, says he plans to meet with Marte, and I think he's confused. The manager was crying in the post-game interview. They're at a game out of a wild card spot, and now they're missing arguably, I mean, I don't want to say their best player because that's Corbin Carroll, but their second best player. Have you guys seen anything online that like gives you an idea of like what's going on? Because it seems to be like a pretty like contentious discussion around Ketel Marte. Brett's ready to say something controversial.
No, 3 hours ago, Arizona Diamondbacks admit they have no idea what happened with starting fielder. So they don't know why. I don't think it's come out really yet, or he has talked about it, like why he missed the game. And if it's a knee issue, to me, like one would assume if you're not telling the team what's going on, miss a game, something serious is going on. I think it's a bad injury, but that's my guess. It's going to be a bad injury, and he's handling it in a poor way rather than using the team to try and rehabilitate it as quickly as possible. It sounds like this could be bad. I'm not trying to, create a story or a narrative around it, but we don't know what we don't know. It's kind of a mystery, and in professional sports, I think that's why it seems contentious, because in pro sports, we really don't have these episodes. Typically, player news gets out pretty quickly when it comes to injuries or someone going on leave for whether it's, a death or a birth or whatever it is. But it's an interesting story, and you're absolutely right. He's the second best player on the Diamondbacks. This would be a huge loss to a team who is in the wild card hunt. And if you saw my tweet the other day, the amount of money they've spent on that rotation this year and what it's yielded is puke worthy. So it's crazy that they're even in a spot to make the wild card is nuts.
I mean, I view this very differently than I think Brett does. I don't think it's an injury thing at all. I think that was more of like a cover up because, like,
yeah, that's what
first off, if he's in Boston, like, I think Nolan Arenado had an MRI in Boston while they were there. Why did they ship him back to Arizona to get an MRI? That just doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't want him to sound like coming off hard and like I'm saying he's not just being soft in any means. Like, because I could look very bad. There could be the most personal thing, a loss of a family member, God forbid. But I don't want anything bad to be happening. But at the same time, like, this isn't the first time Ketel Marte's had something like this come up. I mean, last year there was
pretty much this time last year, right?
Yeah,
or like right around this time last year.
And there was, we can't forget, like in the off season, there was trade talks going on, and I think the reason for that at the time too is now he has 10-5 rights where he can veto trades, and he can say, "No, you're not trading me. I'm with this organization now." And you look at him, I'm just, if any one of us, like, you went go to your job, like, even if the worst thing happened in the world, you're just not going to tell your employer you're not coming into work that day. Like, you're just going to not say anything, and the team's going to be wondering, like, it seemed like there was concern in there of, is this guy okay? Is he alive? Like, did something happen to him very bad this morning? Whatever it is. Like, they didn't know anything at all. They didn't say anything at all. It's very different, in my opinion. If he says, like, hey, I had something very personal happen, whatever it is, I don't want to speak on it right now. I just can't. But I'm just going to need a few days off. Instead of just, I'm not going to say anything to my manager, my GM, any of my teammates even. I'm just not going to show up. And then it becomes a big story. Probably a bigger story, too, because he's playing in a Boston where media is a lot bigger there. And also, too, this isn't the first time in the past that something like this has happened. So I think this is just Ketel Marte kind of doing what he's done in the past. And I think it's almost like I hate saying this because if something is very bad that's happened to him, I sound kind of like an ass saying this to him, but it's like, he's going to act like he's better than everybody else out here. Just saying, I don't have to tell anybody where I'm at right now. I'm going to deal what I'm dealing with. I'm not going to tell anybody.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they're coming out and saying, like, this is a quote from Derek Hall, we're going to have to get explanations from him and apologies from him, and hopefully we can pick up the pieces and move on and turn the page. So, like, you want to be sensitive to a point, because obviously I don't think it's injury related, and even if it is, there's obviously something else going on top of that. Like, Brett's right, like they did an MRI, so they're looking at something, and could it be a cover up? Sure. That seems weird too. Like, that you guys are gonna try to cover. You made a perfect point, Hagen. Boston and New York, two worst places to pull something like that, because all of the Boston writers were on it like that. And I think even if you're in Milwaukee, who's the best team in baseball right now, it's just they don't have the same type of press. It's news, but it's not going to go as viral as it did on Twitter in the moment, where now we're talking about it. And it was viral last year too. But yeah, it's interesting. And also, you have two teams who are battling for wildcard spots with the Red Sox and the Diamondbacks. And it was huge for the Red Sox, him not playing. They win the series. They've been mediocre since they had their win streak. They win the series. It's big for them. They go into the weekend with some momentum. They lost game 3, but they go into the weekend with some momentum, and there were some close games. You gotta kind of sit and imagine what Ketel Marte would have done for them.
And just real quick, just to kind of build off what you were saying there with the media, like, and how fast they got on the Ketel Marte thing. Something too is, I bet a reason why they were more gravitated to speak on that. Obviously, they're there and they're seeing that he's not there. I believe it was like 20 minutes before the games when the lineup card was turned in, which is extremely rare in Major League Baseball. But like, there was a bunch of Ketel Marte to the Red Sox trade rumors in the offseason, so a lot of these beat writers were getting familiar with Ketel Marte and the situations that have happened in the past, and they know of that, which probably see that as an opportunity to write again more about that.
I forget who it was who wrote it. They were like, this. You could see why I mean, Chris Costello. I don't want to say who it was. I can't remember. But you could see why the Diamondbacks were so motivated to trade him during the offseason. And then everyone went. I forget what reporter it was, but everyone was going down his throat because they were like, "Whoa, it could be something going on." But now when you have like the CEO of Diamondbacks coming out, be like, "Yeah, he needs to apologize." And like you said, shit happens, but you still have to tell your job if you're not showing up. And also, he's making millions and millions and millions of dollars. So,
like, team friendly deal, but you're still making like $15 million.
Yeah, like I don't feel bad. Like, I'm sorry, I don't feel bad. There's someone else. There's some other story about a player the other day where I'm like, dude, I do not care. Like, it was like about money. And
probably
like,
the Kyle Tucker with crying in the dugout.
Oh, I think it was the Kyle Tucker. I actually did kind of feel bad about Kyle Tucker crying in the dugout, but at the same time, I was like, dude, you're making what, $60 million this year? Like, I'll cry in the dugout. I'll do whatever in the dugout. All right, moving on to before we do some divisional roundoffs, moving on to just some quick little stories over the past week. I guess, Brett, we'll hold off the NL MVP talk. No, I'm asking you.
You just said, do I want to hold off on it? I thought, do you want to do that now, or do you want to do the divisional roundup?
I'm asking you.
Well, let's just talk the NL MVP real quick. So,
okay, go.
And so I put out a blog today about the NL MVP. I thought pretty solid out there, pretty solid take. Go read it. Dean and I have differences on who we think is going to win the MVP, which tells you everything you need to know, that this is a highly contested MVP year. We got Shohei Ohtani in one corner, who's gunning for his 4th straight MVP, 5th in, I think, 6 years. And then you got PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong, who's 31-31 right now on the season. He has a chance to go 40-40. There's been 6 guys ever to go 30-30. I'm sorry, to go 40-40. So if PCA does that and gets the Cubs to the playoffs, because that rotation's been in shambles all year long, limping away, that is something that has to be taken into account. And I would think, the way I articulated in my opinion on it, that his value defensively and being able to do that is going to be really hard for Ohtani to overtake him. But on the other side, we have the most, the elephant in the room. Everyone knows Ohtani pitches, and he has not pitched since when, I don't even remember the last time he pitched. But he's got 8 wins on the year. He's got 90 plus strikeouts. He's got 85 some odd innings. He's generated another 3 B WAR pitching. So something, 8 wins for a team right there on the mound. And his numbers hitting wise are virtually just as good as PCA's, if not better, in multiple categories. And he's top 10 in virtually everything except stolen bases, the one area where PCA's got him dead to rights. So I think it's a really...
And then the defense. You have to mention the defense.
Well, yeah, I think defensively, if I'm remembering correctly...
You don't think?
The most runs saved this year is from PCA, and I think he's got 24. And he's second in outs above average, only behind Bobby Witt Jr., and he's doing it at a premium position at center field. So really, really good debate to have. I'll let you read, or should I just tell them who I think is going to win it at this point?
Who you think's going to win it?
I got Shohei. I do. I think the Dodgers, it's no secret. They've won 2 straight World Series, and it's shocker. Oh, since Shohei Ohtani arrived, he's won 2 straight MVPs, two straight World Series, and I think they're going to three-peat this year. So I know that the postseason doesn't factor into the MVP, but I just see that being the story that unfolds as we're watching the greatest baseball player in the history of the game right now play.
I don't agree with that, but okay.
In my opinion.
You can say greatest baseball player you've watched.
Yeah, greatest player in my opinion of who I've watched.
Okay, so real quick, I'm gonna give you some, and then Hagen, I want you to jump in. I just want to give a quick stat. Okay, so since Baseball Reference was added in 2010, that's when it actually went on the Baseball Reference website. Okay, the league leader in B WAR has won MVP 56.7% of the time. So 17 out of 30 MVP awards since 2010 have been to the leader in B WAR. Okay, let me tell you the 13 times where it has not happened. Okay, 8 times it was a pitcher. So 8 times the pitcher led in B WAR. They won Cy Young, different hitter won MVP. I think 3 times Kershaw and Verlander, or twice Kershaw and Verlander. You had pitcher also B WAR and win MVP, but those don't count. Those were part of the 17 out of 30. All right, so 8 times pitcher led in B WAR. 2 times it was Mike Trout losing to Miguel Cabrera, with Miguel Cabrera's back-to-back MVPs, one of those being the Triple Crown year. Okay, 1 time it was Mike Trout losing to Josh Donaldson, which go look at that MVP race. Josh Donaldson was great. Go look at Mike Trout. All right, 1 time it was Bregman actually losing to Mike Trout. Bregman beat him in B WAR. Trout kind of had him in everything else. And then the last instance is Mookie Betts losing to Ronald Acuna Jr. when Acuna went 40-70 a few years ago when they changed the size of the bags. So again, let's take the 8 times the pitcher led in B WAR. Let's put that to the side real quick. There's only 5 instances where a batter who leads in B WAR loses the MVP. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I just want to chime in on just on this talk here. And I think I'm someone that I think PCA should win this. And I'm going to shout my buddy Nate Roper on Twitter. He's one of my good Twitter friends out there. And he brought up a good point where he was like, the whole debate, and because I think you can just call this wash offensively, because like the WRC pluses are the same. They're the 3rd and 4th best hitters in Major League Baseball WRC plus this year. PCA's 3rd, Shohei Ohtani's 4th at 154, 152 respectfully. And so you can kind of call that a wash. And like the main debate's almost just how do you value the Ohtani pitching versus the PCA defense, which is hard because we've never had to value someone's pitching against a player's defense, at least ever that I can ever think of in my life. So it's kind of hard because you've never had to do it before. But Nate, he put out there and he was like, people just say Shohei Ohtani's pitching is more valuable, but they provide no reasoning at all. They just say that's what it is, and they say that 80 innings, whatever he has right now, is more valuable than PCA's defense over 1,500 innings, whatever it's going to be at the end of the year in center field. And he just used like fielding run value and pitching run value, and PCA's fielding run value right now is 24, and that's still going to go up there. He's probably going to clear 30 by the end of the year, probably 35. I would guess he could probably going to set the all-time record, which is 31 by Patrick Bailey in 2025. That's catcher. If you take a non-catcher, I mean, even if you take an outfielder, he already has the most fielding run value ever for an outfielder in a single season, and he still has 50 games left, 40 games left, whatever it is. So he's just going to be, when you look at the Ohtani and his pitching run value, it's about four runs less right now. So it's like, it's hard because it's just like one number that you're kind of putting your aspect of the game that they're both elite at into one number. So it's kind of hard to do, but I think it just kind of is better than just saying, oh, his pitching is more valuable than his defense. Because it's like, what's your reasoning there? There's not really reasoning. People just say it to say it. And I think PCA's defense is so valuable because, in my opinion, I think PCA is already this is going to sound horrible because I say greatest in different ways. Like, I think Ohtani is the greatest player to play the sport of baseball. I think Pete Armstrong is the best outfield to ever play baseball. I don't think there's anybody that's defensively better than Pete Armstrong in history. And I know that's also, I'm younger, I didn't see the older guys going up, and I don't have the numbers for those guys going up, but I think it's generational defense for Pete Armstrong. I just think it's generational defense for Pete Armstrong, and this is the year too, and I'm not going to use the voter fatigue thing because I don't think voter fatigue is as heavily used in baseball as it is like the NBA or the NFL. And we've seen that with Ohtani the last 5 years. I think, like, you could say, probably the closest case to Ohtani losing the MVP in the last 5 years I can think of at the top of my head, at least in the NL, was Lindor in 2024. But granted, Lindor was still a step below Ohtani. He still had a good case for MVP, but it wasn't Ohtani good. But I just still think that Pete Armstrong has been the better and most valuable player in baseball this year. And a simple term would be, the Cubs are not where they're at without Pete Armstrong on their team. The Dodgers are still a top 3 team in baseball without Shohei Ohtani on their team.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer in, so like I'm using the B War, and I use that in an argument online on Twitter today, and I posted that tweet, and I'm talking about how 60% of the past 30 B War MVP winners were the B War leaders. I don't think we should have to like die on the hill of war, but like you just said, it's the most valuable player. I've always believed this. Like last year, Cal Raleigh, I'm like, he's the most valuable player. The Mariners, look at the Mariners this year. Look at the Mariners this year compared to last year. I don't know what the standings are. I have to pull up exactly where they were, but it's a completely different team. And he's terrible. He's terrible this year, and they're disappointing as well across the board.
And they're 16-68 right now, 4.5 out of the division.
Yeah, and I can't remember what their record was at this point. I would need Brett maybe to check it, but just the whole vibe of the Mariners last year compared to this year, and that just kind of just flowed right through Cal Raleigh, and I believe he should have been MVP last year. Obviously, Judge had an insane season, so whatever. But we haven't seen someone do what PCA is doing, combination defense, offense, and I've looked at Nate Roper's stuff, and I agree with it. We haven't seen this combination, and I can't think of who the last person was. There's definitely someone. We're missing someone very obvious. But now, do I think Pete Armstrong is the best outfielder of all time, like defensively? No. That's like a Brett statement, to be honest. I'm surprised, Hagen. I shouted you out on the blog today, and I said you had more baseball knowledge than Brett and I combined, and now I'm going to go back and put an editor's note there. But
two things. One, Mariners won 90 games last year in the regular season, so they finished 90-72. Number two.
Yeah. So better. So that's what gone.
I'm not saying PCA is the best defender. I think with the way that youth every year, it's more talented than it was. I'm a big believer in that. Who do you think is the best defensive outfielder of all time? Andrew Jones?
We're gonna get completely off topic here, which is fine. This is a good conversation.
Just a quick.
Well, I like so the stats that we're talking about I'm like, someone posted today, it may have been Warmonger. Like, they don't even take into account like if it's a home run robbery. That doesn't get taken into account into these stats. Correct, Hagen?
Yeah, it's hard with these defensive stats, and it's kind of shown even more with the first base, the scoops metric that came out too. You can kind of see there's a lot of flaws in them, which is obviously hard because like defense is so hard. Like defense is probably more than any baseball stat. You have to use the eye test with the numbers, and
Yeah.
like you can look
Yeah.
into it and say like pass the eye test. From other Twitter friends, he posted it with like an Alec Burleson. He got negative 0.4 OAA for like a scoop metric on a throw that was like two hop to him at 70 miles an hour, and it's like that's not his fault at all. So there's like you got to look into like, okay, where did he get docked at? Where did he get buffed up at? And back up the numbers there, because I think it's so hard to grade defense. Like it's something that you, for years you just looked at your eyes. You got to be able to look at the eyes, and I think the numbers are more there to back up as a guy a good defender or not.
Yeah, see, because I'm looking at eye test right now, and I'm this is a totally biased statement. I think Rafael is a better fielder than Pico Armstrong.
You're such a homer.
I've seen like it's like I've seen plays of Pico Armstrong, like a ball getting by him or like a ball getting underneath him, and like it doesn't affect his stat, like his defensive run saved or OA, or it doesn't affect that like too much. But it looks bad. I don't see Rafael doing that.
I do think PCA.
I think the defensive stats are all like suck. Like Mike Trout, if you look at the defensive stats, is a negative D WAR guy for his entire career. And yeah, has he been like amazing? No, but go back to his early years. Like he was sick. He made sick catches. Like they don't take that into account.
Yeah, and to your point with Rafaela too, it's like I think he's a case too. Like he doesn't really get talked about that much because how good and PCA's numbers show up as. But like I think Rafael is like almost a generational level center fielder as well that like doesn't really get talked about much. I mean, I don't even know why. Like he should have been playing center field a lot longer. I think maybe we talked about him more if he didn't play shortstop for the year, whatever he did. When like
this guy's
could be a generational center fielder defensively, which is
I'll never understand that. People have tried to argue with me about that. How it's like that's what the team needed at the time. This, that, and the other thing. That will forever be one of my gripes against Alex Cora is just doing stuff like this, just tinkering too much. Like I never understood it. I just got a funny text message of someone who's watching us.
Was it from a family member?
No, it wasn't from a family member. It's from a friend.
Okay. Well,
I don't even want to say Andrew Jones was the best outfielder. Like I think I don't know. I think it's just crazy to say PCA after 2 years.
That's what I was trying to preface when I was saying it, because I
Ken Griffey Jr. was great. Then he hurt his knees and got fat. Like
Jim Edmonds.
I wasn't saying like more cumulatively. I'm saying more like at their peak. I think PCA is the best defensive center fielder of all time. Outfielder, honestly.
Yeah, write a blog about it because I need to hear more of this. I think Pico Armstrong should win MVP for everything we just said. I think Dodgers are gonna still make the playoffs without Shohei Ohtani. Yes, he's pitched great, but we're talking about a very, very good pitcher in Shohei Ohtani against the best defender in baseball, or best defensive outfielder, second best defender, whatever you want to say. Him, Bobby Winston, and Rafaela. Take any of them. Best defender in baseball versus a very good pitcher. It's just sexy. It's sexy to be like he's a pitcher and a hitter. I get it, but we've had him for 10 years now. So
my big thing just with Ohtani and specifically about the amount of innings he's pitched to date. Like if he doesn't pitch another game, he would have numbers equivalent to like the nastiest closer in baseball, on top of being a 300 hitter, on top of being a.
But he's not.
What do you mean he's not? He's done 85 innings this year. Like that. That's what a typical closer would do. No, right around 80, 90 innings.
He's not. The person who's watching just said Ohtani for MVP. This friend does not watch baseball. I don't think I don't even know what team he roots for anymore. Whatever team he claims he roots for, if you can name 5 players on it right now in text, I'll take his opinion. And whatever. I understand what you're saying in terms of, but they should have just made him the closer then. Edwin Diaz sucks.
And he's injured again.
Yeah. Ohtani probably wouldn't be injured.
Let's move on, though. Let's go to the divisional roundup since we're 36 minutes in already.
No, we'll just skip the divisional roundups.
All right.
Let me skim the divisional rounds up and see if there's anything.
The East is from what I skimmed earlier. I'll tell you this: like the East is pretty much the same. Just Tampa Bay's cooled off a little bit. Boston's cooled off a little bit. It's still Boston, New York in the American League wildcard race. Tampa's got to stay healthy to hold on. From the American League Central, it's still a shit show. It's still anyone's division up for grabs. And if the White Sox starting pitching can hold up, I think it's going to be theirs. A big question mark is Minnesota's rotation going to help win them some games or not? They obviously made some moves at the deadline, both for the bullpen and for the rotation. So we'll see what Minnesota does with their young guys starting to get all called up now. The American League West, it's worse than the American League Central. It's about three flawed teams who keep circling around each other at the top between Seattle, Houston, and Texas, and none of them seem to want to make a run for the division. Anything from the American League from you two? That was just my quick synopsis of the American.
I think the White Sox have.
I was just gonna say. I mean, me and Brett would always do this. Look at the division. It seemed like a weekly thing that we would say, "All right, the American Central, AL Central," and we would say, "This division sucks. We don't really want to talk about it. There's nothing good." And I feel like now it's become the American League West. Like the White Sox are the best team out of those two divisions. If you would have told me that at the beginning of the year, I would have called you crazy, and I would have said you know nothing about baseball. I just think it's awesome to see the White Sox, like, obviously where they've came from in the last few years. Obviously one of the worst teams since, I believe, the 62 Mets, I believe what it was, the 125 losses, whatever they had 2 years ago, to just be at this point. And it's kind of shown, too, like, the Central is a lot more interesting. I feel like there's teams in the Central. Yes, the only team above 500 is the White Sox right now. But, like, there seems like the Tigers have played really good for the last month and a half. The Guardians can get back up there and claim 500. But, like, the American League West this year has just been teams that will get a game above 500 and they just go back down and they're just 500. There's not been one team the entire that just like goes on a run in that entire division. When there's like the Century, I feel like we've seen it is there's teams that go on runs, even if they're like 8 games back in the division, they'll go on a run and get back up there, which I feel like the West has just been so stale this year. Like the only thing interesting about that division is the players in the division. You have the big names, you have the Seattles, like you have the Cal Raleigh, who one of the worst players in baseball this year. The Julio Rodriguez is. Jordan Alvarez, that's probably the best hitter in baseball this year. And you have the MVP there, but the name's the only thing really
nobody cares
in the division. Yeah.
All the teams in the West have a negative run differential, and they all have an expected win-loss record. This is a good angle. They all have an expected win-loss record of at least 7 games below 500. So like the top team, which is the Astros, their expected win-loss is 60 and 67. And then every team below that is worse. With the Central, you have 4 teams that are in the playoff hunt. So you have 4 teams who are a game and a half back. And then the last thing, and we'll move on, with the AL East, the other day I posted about it. I actually got like 100,000 views on Threads for this post. It was the meme of the guy waking up and seeing the standings, and it's the Orioles in a playoff spot. I don't know why it blew up on Threads. It ended up blowing up on Twitter. I think it got like 2,000 likes, but it blew up on Threads. And I'm like, I forgot that I even post on Threads because it was automatically off of Instagram. But you had 4 teams the other day in the playoffs from the AL East. And right now you have 3 teams, the Rays, the Yankees, and the Red Sox. Blue Jays a half game back. Baltimore Orioles a game and a half back. So that will be the division to watch the most. The AL West, I would be lying to you if I said I watched the Rangers. I don't even know if the Rangers played the Red Sox this year. If they did not leave any impression on me whatsoever. I do not remember watching them. The Athletics, I'm shocked that they have a worse record than the Angels right now. I think that's kind of embarrassing.
The Athletics have been banged up all year.
I'm going to say something more controversial than what Hagen just said with Pete Armstrong. I think Nick Kurtz is the new Tristan Casas. We'll table that for now because I have a flight that I need to pack for. But that's where I'm going. I could be wrong.
Hagen and I just made the same exact face at the same exact time to that. That is a flaming hot take.
Bookmark it. I'm afraid to post it. I'll post it eventually. But
that would be one of those tweets that you see has 500,000 views and like 16 likes and 1,000 comments.
I should have posted it. He went on. His season ended like 2 days after I started thinking about it in my head. But okay, Did we not talk about the Field of Dreams? I guess no, right?
No, but now that
Do we want to talk about it? I don't.
Now that we're in the National League East, we could talk about it because the Phillies played.
We're skipping the National League. We're skipping the National League. I want to go to the card off.
Okay.
Unless Hagen has anything to say about the National League.
I think it's just like the Padres kind of snuck back into there. The Diamondbacks have been playing good ball recently. But besides that, I mean, I like the Mets been playing good recently. And there's the delusional Mets fans that'll say, hey, the Mets, they got to do this record to get there. And, well, yes, they're the best team since the trade deadline, I believe 11-3, which is great to see. But the last thing I want to see is the Mets go on a run, get even really close. They're still like 18 games out of the division right now. They're the sixth worst team in baseball. You'd have to go, I believe it's 28-6 to end the year, which is it's doable. Like you go on a Red Sox run, and it's doable. I'm not saying that run's easy to go on by any means, but the last thing I would like to see is the Mets go on a run, they miss the playoffs by 2 games, and then they don't have a good draft pick either. They drop 10 slots in the draft and they pick 30th instead of picking in the top 6, like where they're at right now.
That doesn't matter that much for baseball, honestly.
I just feel more just for the draft pool money.
You just want the momentum, baby. You want to feel like next year is the year and then get crushed again. Brett, anything else in the National League? I just need to pack for Chicago.
No, we can move on.
Yeah, so I'll say it real quick just because we're in a safe space. We fired our producer for the show who did the previous agenda. His name was Brett, and I brought Casey Bite. Brett doesn't. This is Casey Bite. Casey Bite's doing this agenda. The agenda is actually really good. We went on a 10-minute tangent about PCA being the best defensive outfielder of all time. But Casey Bite, I don't know if Will's going to listen this deep into an episode, but Casey Bite wrote a great agenda. Brett touched it up a little. I don't even know what Brett touched up.
I deleted some of the fluff and like dumb questions because it was very AI like questions like, will this impact how you feel about whatever? It's like
it probably added a lot more. There's probably a lot more stories it added, right?
Yeah, it did a really good job of covering the week's coverage of like what happened for each team.
Yeah.
And like the divisional breakdown. If we spend more time on it, I liked how it listed only the ranking, like the standing of the first place team, how many games back second was, and then like the story for the next 3 teams of like Blue Jays. Yeah, they've been terrible, but they're 7-3 in their last 10, and that that's what Casey Bite highlighted for Toronto. Like it was good stuff.
I love Casey Bite. Casey Bite is a very interesting part of Skipper's View history. He'll be writing blogs again for us. I just let him do what he wants. Like I didn't even look at the agenda. I told Brett. I said Casey Bite did it. I programmed Casey Bite. Every day Casey Bite says, hey, should I work on the agenda? I said, Casey Bite, you work on the agenda. I'll check it out. I'll check it the day we record. He says, okay, boss, got it. It's a really weird relationship I have with Casey Bite, but it's okay. It's the world. It's the way
I'm
we're
just
going.
finding out that Casey Bite is a man.
I view him as a man. I don't know what he views himself. I'll ask him. I have a cord here with my phone. I'm not going to do it, but technically I could plug in my phone and like Casey Bite could be on the podcast. But I think that we'd be going down a road that we just can never go back. So I'm gonna for the moment we're gonna have Casey Bite doing the agenda and writing blogs, and then eventually Casey Bite may be on this podcast, and honestly that might be our last episode. He might just take over the show. I don't know. All right, card conversation. I think I won this week. I won.
Is this the card that last time we got on that you knew immediately which one you were going to use?
Yeah, like this, I know. So, like, I'm going to show 2 cards real quick. I think I showed one of them, and I'll let Brett show his under the $50 card that he thinks will win. I know my card will win.
I said that before the episode. I have a baseball thing, but it's not.
Okay, fine. Item, whatever. Okay, show me your balls. But just real quick, so I think I showed this 1951 Ted Williams Bowman SGC 2.5. So this was gifted to me by a friend. He got a higher copy, I believe, and then he gifted me this card. So my plan, like when I have my actual man cave, would be for the gift that Brett gave me. I'm going to start like a Ted Williams collage on the wall. So that gift behind me, and then this. And then I ended up purchasing from the store this 1956 Ted Williams and a PSA 2, just because the 1956 cards are beautiful. I don't know if you've ever seen them, Hagen. It's some of my favorite, I guess artwork is what you would call it. My favorite artwork for cards. So I definitely would say go check those out. So those are 2 cards that I got in the past week and a half that I wanted to show. Brett, show us your ball.
I didn't get a ball. You're gonna think this is dumb, but I love this. So obviously, those watching can see, got the photos going on. I got my wall of balls over here that one day we'll show when it's completed. I also have a few bobbleheads, and I promised the girlfriend I would not buy any more bobbleheads because it's not my thing either. It's just like if there's a cool one. And I was on Facebook Marketplace. I tweeted about a wooden poster I got for $10, which was awesome. I got this from a different seller for $10 and added to the bobblehead collection. Deion Sanders Louisville Bats football bat for $10. I thought this was a great bobblehead to add to the collection here for the office, but I could understand why you'd be like, yeah, that's dumb.
I don't even know if I want to waste the card that I have right now on this competition because I think this could win. I think I have a half drinking Lipton iced tea next to me right now that I think is cooler than that bobblehead, but I'll use this. So this is a Mikey Romero, auto grade 10, SGC 9.5 out of 75, gold lava refractor auto.
Jeez. So if he takes off,
Hagen, why did I use Mikey Romero, Hagen?
Didn't use Mikey Romero because in about the year of 2021, I struck him out in Arizona perfect game tournament, and then I believe he hit a double off the wall against me next at bat. But I struck him out. That's all that matters.
Yeah. So this was 2022. So this was very soon after that happened. You can see the tier mark here from Mike Romero thinking about Hagen striking him out. So Hagen, please judge this competition.
I mean, I'm someone that's a sucker for like just weird niche stuff like Brett's bobblehead there. Like that's the type of stuff that I love. Me and my friends love all that type of stuff. But the Mikey Romero card is also awesome, especially because it's a PSA 10. Like I'm not a huge card guy, but I know that PSA 10s you got to take those very seriously, especially it's out of a 75. And it's 1-2 that's probably getting more steam, and its value is probably going to peak here in a few years, I would assume. You're probably keeping it because you're a Red Sox guy, but probably one that's going to be, especially with him getting closer to the big leagues, is getting more valuable, I bet. But I think I got to go with Brett on this one. I just love it.
What?
I'm only going with it because, like...
Such a waste. This is rigged because I've won too many in a row.
No, I just think you never even imagine that there's a Louisville bat Deion Sanders bobblehead out there.
You struck out Mikey Romero.
I know. I just... Honestly, when you said you knew the card like a few weeks ago when we last recorded, and you said you knew the card, I honestly thought it was a Max Kranick auto, and I was like, that already won.
Well, that's in the pipeline. I thought maybe the guy that you struck out, probably like the highlight of your career. Is it?
I will say, like, these things are tough.
Is it the highlight of your baseball career? Yes or no?
I would say it's probably like top 2 or 3.
Okay, so it sounds like the highlight of your baseball career.
Yeah.
And you just chose Deion Sanders bobblehead that someone was throwing out and Brett quickly drove over and took out of their garbage can.
I just think it's just so niche. Like if I walked into one of my friends' houses and I saw
niche, I should have picked up this half drinking Lipton iced tea and you've been like, whoa, that's like retro. Me and my friends love that artwork.
Don't hate the judge.
It's
just play the game.
It's ridiculous.
That one was hard though because it was a card versus bobblehead that just extremely niche. I just love that.
Yeah, it's Brett.
Even though the bobblehead looks, in my opinion, nothing like Deion Sanders.
Not at all.
They never do.
It could also just not be Deion Sanders. He could be lying to you.
It says Deion Sanders on the bottom.
Your camera sucks. No one can tell.
Well, that's it for me this week.
All right. Anything else, Hagen?
I think I'm all good.
I'm not. I'm still a little bothered by that. We will probably record on Sunday, depending on what time I get back from Chicago. If not, maybe Brett and Hagen will record. I probably should spend time with my wife after being away all weekend, but also I would love to record. So yeah, that's it for us. 5 years. Go check out the blog. Go check out Stat Soldier. That's all I got. Anything else?
That's it for me, dog.
All right. Bye.